Hi everyone, I'm Nicole, CEO of the Psychosocial Safety and Leadership Institute, and I am really excited to be chatting with Shannon Nolan from Human Leadership today. We're going to have a chat about who Shannon is, what human leadership offers, why this work matters, and how you can connect with her if you'd like to learn more. Shannon, thank you so much for being part of the
Hello,
collective.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And for people who might not have met you before, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure thing. I have a social work background. I worked in direct practice in social work for about a decade
Hmm.
before I burnt out and landed in a little bit of a screaming heap, which I can say a little bit more about. But I basically worked all with young people in oncology, in grief and loss, in homelessness, in mental health. Um, Nobody ever knows what social workers do. Social workers do a bunch of different things, but essentially, no matter what we're doing, the sort of common denominator is that we're thinking about people and the environments they're in or the systems that they're in, and thinking about how we can make the relationship between those people and those systems happier and healthier and more sustainable. So,
Mm.
um, now I think about adults in workplaces and how workplaces impact people's mental health and well-being, and how we can make workplaces healthier so that they don't cause stress for people. Um, to go back to the sort of the burnout and how I've landed here, I think it's interesting knowing what I know now, that if you say to people at a barbecue, I burnt out working with young people in oncology or grief and loss, they would assume that it's because you're working with young people in grief and loss and oncology and homelessness. Um, and I really don't at all think that I burnt out because of dealing with sort of distressed people or distressing situations. I think I burnt out because of the systems that I was in and the lack of support that we commonly have in not-for-profits, and the need to always do more with less, where you've got environments where there's a lot of high demand and not enough resources to meet those demands. And so
Mm.
that also kind of informs the way that I work now, and thinking, how can we create environments so that people can be healthier and engaged and sustained in their employment. So
Mm.
happily, when I burnt out, I went to work at Black Dog Institute in the education team there. And that's where I discovered workplace mental health. So still using my social work brain to think about adults in workplaces, how we can improve systems, how we can make employees happier and healthier. Um, but given that I was in the education team, that's sort of one, obviously really important, but one part of the puzzle. And so after I'd worked there for a few years, I wanted to explore the different parts of the puzzle in the workplace. So how do we look at long-term mental health strategies, and how do we address psychosocial risk and policies and procedures and leadership training and development and all of those things. I had a little bit of a hunger for exploring that a little bit more broadly. And so I started Human Leadership 7 years ago now, with a
Yeah.
view of doing that, what happens beyond education, in terms of the other parts of that system.
Yeah.
That's a
So
very long answer.
no, it's great. It's great to understand your background and how unique that is because you look at things in a different light. We all come from different backgrounds and experiences, and with that comes different expertise. And
Mm,
I've not met someone with your background before. So having those
yeah.
insights in how you work with businesses, I think is a really unique and special way to do it.
I think so. Like social workers and OTs are like an untapped, maybe underappreciated resource when it comes to workplaces. Often workplaces think they need to engage like a clin psych or an org psych, which
Mm.
in some instances might absolutely be the case. There's value there. There's also value in like OTs and social workers think about people in systems. That's how our work is structured and how we approach things. And so I think yeah, I think we have some things to offer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you might have already answered this, but what is human leadership and what do you offer there?
So a little bit of what I've talked about, I guess, we work with all of the different parts of the puzzle. When I first started the business, I was like, well, I'm not going to do leadership training. I'm going to do long-term mental health strategies,
Hmm.
and psychosocial risk assessments, or supporting organizations to run psychosocial risk assessments.
Hmm.
And the business is always run in a way that's responsive to client needs. So I kind of
Yeah.
wasn't rigid in thinking this needs to look a particular way. I was just listening and thinking, okay, well, I keep hearing this thing, so I'll do this. And so I've got kind of over the years have built a bit of a patchwork of things that we offer. Um, we started out doing sort of for auditing, desktop review, and employee consultation around mental health and psychosocial risk with a view to build long-term mental health and psychosocial risk strategies so that workplaces had a scaffold or a framework off which to hang their sort of otherwise seemingly, I think, disparate actions or resources. Um, and so that's absolutely still something that we do, but we also do the other parts that hang off that scaffold. So in terms of, I spend a lot of my time now doing leadership training and development, and I love it because
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit where the rubber hits the road. I watch people in people leader training think, oh, I thought I didn't know what I was doing, but I do. Like, this is quite practical. And so I quite like that
Hmm.
feeling like, oh, this is going to lead to something. This will lead to action. So the possibility of that I really like. So we do lots of training for people leaders, for boards, for all staff.
Hmm.
Um, we do like little projects around things like, procurement or, mental health playbooks. We build long-term communication plans relating to mental health and psychosocial risk.
Hmm.
Um, I support administration of psychosocial risk assessments if people have the capacity to do that internally, and sometimes run that externally if there's a desire to do that. So yeah, bit of everything really, lots and lots of leadership training and development, and really, I quite commonly say we were doing psychosocial risk before it was cool. This was kind of the seed of where we started. And so yeah, different sort of elements or products relating to that. We also did coaching, like again, responsive. This was not where I thought I was going to go, but I think at the moment, one of the issues that workplaces are dealing with is not feeling like they're informed consumers, feel that people feel a little bit overwhelmed,
Yeah.
or not knowing where to start. And so kind of work alongside organizations to say to them, like, just to give advice and guidance and referral. You're like, well, I don't know, like, have you thought about doing this? We talk to people about their approach and then maybe make some recommendations, either to ourselves or other people who do similar work or adjacent work to ours. And some coaching for those psychosocial risk roles and mental health roles to be able to help them implement their strategies as well.
Mm. And what makes your work unique?
We're really bespoke. We tend to have a partnering approach. I kind of think we get the buddy system works. Like I have automatically, I think by instinct, I have a bit of a coaching style. Like there's no point in me holding a bunch of information if you can benefit from that information. So I'm happy to do the work, but if there's an interest, I'm also happy to develop the people that I work with so that I do myself out of a job. Like,
Yeah.
um, so we tend to be really bespoke. This is not at all unique, but is a priority in the business is to have an evidence base. I don't do things for no reason. I don't make things up on my own. Budgets are absolutely evaporating. People are having a hard time. So we really want good return on investment.
Yeah.
Um, and so having things that are evidence informed or research based is important to the business.
Hmm.
Um, Other thing that's, I mean, possibly a little bit unique. Is just in terms of my tone or my approach. Like I put a thing on LinkedIn about this recently. Like I wouldn't refer to myself as a thought leader, but I'm a really good thought collector. Like
Hmm.
I'm deferential to evidence, to other providers. Um, and that's a bit why the Psychosocial Safety Institute and the collective was appealing because I don't feel like I need to be everything to everyone. I'm not a one-stop shop. I'm not the expert. And I think clients get a better service if you can refer them to the right person. And so I'm definitely sort of deferential to other people's expertise and to the research. And then the other thing, I guess, is what we've already talked about. I'm very responsive to need. So built into social work is listening. I listen, I notice themes in the things that people are trying to figure out or trying to solve. Um, and so some of those things are simple, like what's an outcome measure look like? What does success look like? And some of those things are more complex, but I try and take complex things and digest them and then hand them to people in ways that are simpler. I'm interested in being useful, I guess, to people, regardless of what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's such a big part of what we want to do with the collective, right? Like bring together incredible people like you to help make life easier for workplaces because it is overwhelming. It is a lot. And it's psychosocial safety is just one aspect of safety, which is just one
Mm.
aspect of business. So if
Yeah,
we can connect them to the right people who can support them with the work they need to do and make it easier, like that is wonderful.
yeah, absolutely.
And again, you might have already answered this, but why is your work important to you? Why is this work important to what you do?
Um, I think having a social work background, there's like sort of service to people or purpose-driven work is built in. Now, I mean, I would not at all compare what I'm doing to what I did in my early career. They're very different, but um, just being helpful, making things easier for people, improving systems for people so that they can be happier and healthier is how I like spending my days. This is
Hmm.
what this looks like for me now. Um, I think at the moment, like I said, we have people who are uninformed, or people feel overwhelmed, or people feel paralyzed, or don't know where to start. And so, if we can take that and think about how it applies in different environments and just make it practical for people, then if I can be helpful in that way, then I think, why shouldn't I be helpful in that way, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. And what kind of organizations or leaders do you enjoy working with most?
I'm a nightmare for marketing people, anyone and everyone. I don't know, you're just human beings at work, aren't
Yeah.
they? Really? So I don't know. I'll talk to anyone. The research applies differently in different environments.
Mm.
That's what keeps my work interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll talk to anyone really. Any old workplace is fine by me.
And look, for the people who want to take you up on that offer, what is the best way for them to connect with you and learn more?
I mean, just give me a call. You're probably not going to find me on LinkedIn very often. So give me a call. I love a chat. I like what I do. So the conversation is nice. So that's probably the best way.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for being part of the collective, Shannon. It is so great to have you here, and I cannot wait to work with you this year and beyond.
Thank you, Nicole. Cheers. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.